Hibernation season exists for bears and other animals, so why not you? This video is essentially winter prep and the do's and don'ts of hibernation. We talk about basically waiting out the winter, which has a fancy name called overwintering, which I think is pretty apt. And we'll be using a bear's hibernation kind of process to guide us through this guide to winter. Technically, bears do not hibernate from a very technical standpoint. You can research more on that. But I would say generally we call what bears do in the wintertime hibernating, so that's why I'm doing so. I have this belief that no matter what season I'm in, week to week, month to month, season to season, I should always have the same mood and be in the same place and space and have that same motivation level. And that is not the case, and it doesn't have to be the case. The first do of hibernation is to block off periods of time where you would like to hibernate from certain things. So for example, maybe hibernating from sound. You need there to be some silence and quiet. Hibernating from technology, like spending the weekend not watching TV, not being on your phone, not accessing a certain part of your brain. For example, I'm hibernating from work over the weekend. I'm going to isolate my brain from any thoughts of work. Another do of hibernation is to give yourself permission to leave the routine. I am a big proponent of routines, which you probably have seen, and one reason is because they help keep my depression at bay and they work well for me. However, things do not work well for me when they're in a routine, when I'm out of the routine slightly, and then I berate myself for not being in that routine. So for example, I routinely film my YouTube videos on Saturdays, and I'll edit them either on Saturdays or Sundays and post on Sundays. Now, if I didn't want to film on a Saturday, I wouldn't have to. I could do it on a Sunday. But throughout that whole day, I'd be thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm not doing this. Oh my God, I'm not filming, so I'm not filming again. Okay, so I guess I'm just not gonna film. And berating myself for that. Where what I could do is say, I'm gonna deviate from the routine slightly, and I'll actually film tomorrow and just enjoy my Saturday. What a concept. So my tip for that and my tip for going off script from the routine is to make the call early so that you don't feel like when you're living your life, you should be doing something different. Let's talk about the don'ts of hibernation. The first is don't skimp on the denning process. So bears get their spaces ready for the winter so they can go in that safe space and have their hibernation. You need to also probably care about your space if that is something you care about. So if you like things to be tidy and that feels good to you when things are tidy, spend some extra time throughout the winter, either daily, weekly, routinely, making that space tidy, because your denning process matters. Think about things like lighting. It's very underestimated. We really have to think about lighting when it comes to seasons where there's less daylight throughout the day. When I get home and it's dark, every light in the house is on, pretty much. There's none of this, I need to save energy and not have any lights on, because what that does is sure, I guess it saves energy out here, but then I also have no energy. Also, a tip I have for your denning process and getting your space all set up and getting into that cozy mindset is the phrase, 5 minutes is plenty of time. And this can be taken a lot of different ways, but one of the ways that I've been liking to use it lately is, well, I only have 5 minutes to sit down and write, this thing or do this task. So why would I light a candle? Why would I take a second to make it more cozy? Why would I grab my blanket? My tip to you is, and my belief is, that 5 minutes is plenty of time. So do that extra thing to bring that extra piece of joy into that moment. And if it makes you feel good, especially during this season, then it is not a waste. Next, animals also will go and gather things to have in their den to get ready for hibernation. You should gather things too. Think about what that might be. That could be things that exist in your space already and putting them in one area, like in a bag or a box, and calling it your board box. Going to that whenever you feel like meh, not doing anything, but knowing to fend off depression, you have to keep doing things. You could also go out and gather. So think about what might be positive additions to your space in your life for this winter season. And especially for those of you who live with OCPD and who are super frugal, this is your permission slip to spend a little bit of money. Just be intentional about it. Think about what you're purchasing first. make the decision to do so, and here's your permission slip. And if you really want to call your space something, it's actually considered hibernacula. I think I'm saying that right. Hibernacula is the space that you'll be hibernating in. So definitely drop that term around. It's Latin. Another don't of your hibernation is going to be don't not do your basic needs. Bears hibernate and they don't have to eat, drink, urinate, or defecate. You do, okay? You still have to do that stuff. So don't be like bears in that way. Your basic needs are super important for your hibernation. And finally, do not hibernate from social activity and interpersonal relationships. Bears can do this. We can and should not. Thank you so much for watching this very fun video. I hope that you enjoyed comparing the winter season to bears. How I came up with this idea, I don't really know. If you did enjoy it, give it a like. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.